Rồi, chào các bạn, hiện tại là khoảng hơn 6 giờ tối ngày 12 tháng 3 2023. Đây, cố đô Luang Prabang. Tối hôm nay chúng ta đi xem biểu diễn nha. Biểu diễn khèn của người Lào. Đây, ga Varet các bạn ha. Họ mở cửa show từ 6 giờ 30 tối và giá vé là 5 đô hoặc là 90.000 kíp. Tính ra tiền đô rẻ hơn, sướng hơn. Mà dọn tiền kíp không?
Cái gian phòng nhỏ.
Gian phòng nhỏ hả? Chắc là đủ cho mấy chục người.
Đúng rồi, khoảng chừng 20 người.
Ok. Rabarek.com. Okay.
Cái phòng nhỏ đó.
Yes. Ngồi ở khu vực chợ đêm cố đô Luang Prabang các bạn ha, thì cái chương trình biểu diễn đó, biểu diễn khèn, kể câu chuyện thì bằng tiếng Anh, thì nói về vua Phạn Ngùm, về thành lập của nước Vạn Tượng, Lan Sang, rồi kể về nguồn gốc của sông Mê Công, Nậm Khang, và kể về câu chuyện núi chồng núi vợ. Nói chung là người kể rất hay. Tuy nhiên toàn bộ bằng tiếng Anh nha, do đó bây giờ mời các bạn xem video đó.
Sabaydi everyone.
Sabaydi.
Welcome to an evening of storytelling. It's about Lao folk tales, particularly about Luang Prabang province. Before we begin, let me introduce myself and my companion. My name is Sipai. This is Onsi. And the instrument that you just heard is called khèn. Khèn is traditional instrument unique to Laos and Northeast Thailand. We use this for many different types of ceremonies and festivals. Our first story tonight is about the origin of khèn. But first, let me give you the traditional Lao riddle. Let's see if you can get the answer. Listen carefully. Long ago, there was a family, a father and 10 sons. The father knew that he was about to die, but he wanted to give the property to the best son. One morning, he called his sons in. Sons, I will give each of you the bean seeds. Whoever grows the best beans, I will give you the property. They all went away. A month later, they came back. The first son came with a big basket of green beans. The father was impressed. The second one came with another basket of green beans too. The father was also impressed. So they kept coming and coming until the last one, he came with nothing. Sorry, father, I have nothing to give you. Don't worry, my son. I will give you the property. Why? Why the father gave the property to the last son who had nothing to give to him? I mean, the property could be animals like buffaloes, cows, or pigs, or perhaps house. Does anybody get the answer?
If you don't know.
Because another guys came to themselves to collect old property.
Yes, yeah.
Is it not possible to grow beans in 1 month? So he was not lying?
Yeah, well, yeah. Okay. Okay, you mean like he was like honest or something?
Exactly.
Right, yeah. Okay, I'm impressed. Yes, well, okay, okay. The reason why, because the father tested them, which meant all the beans were boiled or cooked beforehand. I mean, dead seeds couldn't grow, so he testing them. So when 10 sons went back home, tried to plant, and nothing happened. 9 sons, very naughty. They went to the market and they want the property. So they bought green beans from somebody there to show to the father. And they're lying, yeah? So the last one came with nothing because he was one who told the truth. Oh, he was honest. Yeah, good, yeah. All right, let me start with the first story. Misu kasih Pak. Once upon a time, there was a hunter out hunting deer in the forest. He hadn't got anything for a long time. One day, he decided to go to the forest again. He went deep and deep into the thick forest. It was dark. There were spiderwebs in his eyes, and many dangerous animals like tigers and lions and mosquitoes as big as his hand. He kept going and going. Finally, he arrived at the clearing where there were few trees. He sat down, relaxed, looked up to the sky, feel the sunshine on his face. Suddenly, he heard the beautiful sound from high up in the trees. That was Garavik bird, a magic bird. The man was amazed and ran home as fast as he could. When he arrived at his village, out of breath, many people came to see him. As soon as he caught his breath again, he told them what he had heard. Some people were amused, and others were offended by lying. They thought he was lying. And then others, well, they were just hungry for deer. But one girl, a young, beautiful widow, she was enchanted. She asked the hunter if she could accompany with him on his next trip or not. The hunter said agreed. When the time came, the hunter and the girl set out together. They arrived at the clearing, but it was silent. They saw the garlic bird high up in the same place, but no noise. So they went and went. At last, they heard the beautiful sound from garlic bird again. So the girl was enchanted and falling deeply in love with the sound. When the songs finished, she knew that she couldn't live without that sound, and she knew that she could neither capture the bird nor stay out in the forest forever. And then she had an idea. She would invent an instrument that produces a bird. So she returned home and experimented many different types of instruments. She tried this and that and that. Nothing worked. It was hopeless. Finally, she blew through small pieces of bamboo that she had cut. And she had it. It was amazing sound. Misuka suka. She played all day and all night whenever she had time. When the neighbors heard her songs, they were enchanted too. Soon her songs expanded through the village, and many people would gather outside her house to listen to her songs. Until after that, the king heard about this beautiful instrument. He ordered her to his court. I have heard people talking about your songs, said the king. They say your songs are very famous. Play me your songs. Of course, the girl played a very beautiful song to him. When the songs finished, she looked to the king to see his reaction. I've risen as I have played, said the king again. This is good, but not good enough. Play me some more. Of course, the girl played another, then another, until she had exhausted her repertoire, and indeed exhausted herself. When the songs finished with aching her fingers and tired her lungs, she looked to the king again. This time the king a little smile. เก่งหลายเทื่อนี้แค้นแท้ like good job, this time was better. So can means better. This is where the name of the instrument comes from. So, this story introduces a few interesting features of love folk tales. Firstly, it's about the feeling of loving something beautiful. And of course, it's a common theme in tales all over the world, not just in Laos. And secondly, it's about forest. Forest is very important to Lao folk tales, and so much of the country is covered by forest for long, long time. Even today, we still see Luang Prabang surrounded by forest. Lastly, it's about the king. Laos used to be a kingdom, the kingdom of Lan Sang. Lan Sang means land of million elephants. The kingdom was established in 1353 by the king Zhao Fangu. It's a bit difficult to pronounce his name. Try to pronounce with me. Listen to me first. Zhao Fangu. Aha, once again. Ah, king line, very good. You may have seen his name even in the map of Luang Prabang city, or if you go to the main street just outside the post office, you may see his name on the street sign. Or if you go to the museum, just in the garden, in the museum, you will see his statue standing there, very big one, and he's very important king. As you would expect for the first king of such an ancient kingdom, there is an ancient story about him. As the first son of the king of the kingdom before Lan Sang, people were very excited by the birth of Zhao Fangu. However, the excitement became very quick shock because he was born with 33 teeth. At that time, people believed if someone was born that way, it means he or she would bring the bad luck. The king asked for advice from many of Mordu or astrologer, and they all said the same thing. The boy must go, the boy must live. If he doesn't, something bad would happen with the kingdom. Of course, the king was very sad to hear that. But because he was worried about the safety of the kingdom in the future, he agreed. They built a boat, like bamboo boat, and had a great ceremony. The boy was sent off down the Mekong. As you can see, the Mekong in the town at the moment is very sleepy and very calm. But a little bit afterwards, there are many dangerous rabbits. Even though for skilled or experienced fishermen, still dangerous. But for a little boy alone in a boat, it's a certain death. And yet, the boy survived. He went on a great adventure all the way down to Khmer Kingdom, which is now we call Cambodia or Cambodia. In the Khmer Kingdom, the king saw that he was a special child, so he took care of him as his own son. The boy grew up as a prince. When he was young man, he married Khmer princess. Her name Keo Kenya. They lived together in the kingdom for many years. They had luxury things and everything they needed. But something troubled with the prince. He was so sad. He couldn't finish his meals and couldn't sleep at night. And for a long, long time, he couldn't understand why he was so sad. Finally, he found this. he was homesick. He was 37. He and his wife returned here, Luang Prabang, where he was born. He established the kingdom of Lansang and brought the Buddhism as the religion. At that time, the kingdom was one of the most powerful kingdoms in the region, and Zhao Fang was one of the most powerful kings. He ruled the kingdom for 20 years until something happened, which meant he had to stop. One day, before she was old, his wife, Kiao Kenya, died. And after this, he was so sad and so heartbroken that he couldn't continue ruling the kingdom anymore. And so ends the story of Zhao Fang. But this is only the beginning of the story of Luang Prabang. The name Prabang came from Prabang Buddha, a statue which was given from Angkor Wat to Lansang. Luang just means capital. Luang Prabang was the capital of Laos before it was moved to Vientiane. Even though it isn't the capital anymore, it's still very special for the whole heart of people all over the country. For example, there is a popular folk song. It's called Kap Tum Luang Prabang. It mentions about a man from outside Luang Prabang who wants to be the husband of Luang Prabang woman. Again, this is we call Kap Tum Luang Prabang. It's very popular. Usually it has man and woman singing together, and usually it's longer too. I sing short version tonight. It's because just only me. Singing and storytelling is still a popular form of entertainment all over the country. And the most popular character in Lao stories is called Siang Miang. Siang Miang was a clever young man. He was supposed to be the most clever man in the whole kingdom of Lansang, but he was very naughty. He loved to play tricks on people, especially on the king. In one story, the king called Siang Miang for a meeting. Siang Miang, I want you to come tomorrow morning. Come very early. Come before the rooster crows. Your Majesty, you want me to come before the rooster? Yes, that's right, before the rooster. The next morning, Siang Miang still stayed in bed even longer than usual. A little bit after lunch, he goes to the king's palace and he walks in with his hands behind his back. Siang Miang, why are you so late? Your Majesty, I am not late, said Siang Miang. And then he shows the king what he has behind his back. It's a rooster on a rope. Your Majesty, I came before the rooster just like you said. Very good. Another story of Xiang Mian. This time, the king makes challenge for Xiang Mian. He challenges Xiang Mian to trick him into getting into the pond, like fish pond. Xiang Mian, if you can do this, then I will admit that you are the most clever man in the whole kingdom of Lansang. Your Majesty, I would not try to trick you into the pond. However, if you were in the pond already, I'm sure I can make you come out. All right, said the king, and he got into the pond. Xiang Mian, if you are the most clever man in the whole kingdom of Lansang, make me come out. Well, Your Majesty, why would I do that? After all, I just tricked you into the pond. Did I? This because he bad. Oh, sorry, We also have many stories that explain about the origin of natural features. For example, the Mekong was created as a truce between two fighting nagas or dragons or water serpents. One naga named Sisukthon, who was very angry when his friend gave him a gift of porcupine meat. Naga Sisukthon had never seen a porcupine before and thought the long hair sticking out of the meat was the bone. He saw a small amount of meat and the big long hair of bone and thought his friend was very stingy. So he started a great big fight, which is only finished when the gods got involved. They told them to stop fighting, to keep them separated, and made them dig two rivers. One of these rivers was the Chao Phraya in Bangkok, Thailand. The other was the Mekong. The Nam Khan River was also created as a result of a fight. In this story, two brothers were fighting over a pair of elephant tusks from the father left them. One brother cut the other into a half. So all that was left was the top half of his body. He had no legs. He couldn't walk. He could only crawl. So he crawled into Nam Khan River. This is where the name comes from. Nam means river. Khan means crawl. Once he was in the river, he became Ai Tong Quang. Ai Tong Quang was the giant snake that used to live at the end of Nam Khan River, where it meets the Mekong. He used to stop boats from passing and was a very dangerous snake. Until one day, he was killed. So, if you go down to the place where two rivers meet, you will see a big rock in the water. This, according to tradition, is the body of Ai Tong Quang. Another story. This time is about the origin of Mount Pussy or Pussy Mountain. In this story, the Queen Sita from Ramayana lived in Luang Prabang Royal Palace. มีแฟนก็สิครับพอสั้นๆเลย The queen was very hungry for mushrooms, but she didn't want to leave the palace. She asked the Monkey King or Hanuman to bring her some mushrooms. Of course, said Hanuman. He was a little bit relieved about simply getting mushrooms. However, his relief didn't last long. These mushrooms, said the queen, they are very specific kind of mushroom. The kind of mushroom that I want comes from Sri Lanka. Hanuman couldn't believe it. Even though he could fly, Sri Lanka was the long way to go for mushrooms. But the queen was the queen. He had to do it. He set up to the mountain in Sri Lanka where he knew there was a lot of mushrooms. A while later, he came back with a big basket of mushrooms. Oh, ขอบใจ Hanuman, said the queen. เบิ่งคือน่าแซ่บแท้ Like, oh, thank you, Hanuman. They look delicious, but I'm sorry they aren't the kind of mushroom that I want to eat right now. Maybe you can try it again. Hanuman was a little bit confused, but of course he agreed. He set up to the mountain again. A while later, he came back with another basket of different mushrooms, but it's still the wrong kind of mushroom that the queen wants. Your Majesty, said Hanuman, perhaps you can tell me the name of the specific kind of mushroom that you want, and that way it would be easy for me to bring it to you. Sorry, Hanuman, said the queen, I can't. You see, the problem was this. The kind of mushroom that the queen wants is called Hetsanun, or the monkey ear mushrooms. The queen knew that if she found this Hanuman, she would upset the Monkey King. So instead, she kept sending him up to the mountain and hoping he would bring the right one. Hanuman kept on going up to the mountain and kept on bringing the wrong kind of mushrooms until suddenly he had an idea. He set up to the mountain again. After a while, he was back, and this time he didn't have the basket of mushrooms. He had the whole top of the mountain. He put the mountain top in front of the queen and said, "There you are, Your Majesty. The kind of mushroom that you want must be there somewhere." So the mountain had stood in front of the palace ever since. It named after the Queen Sita. Pu is the Lao word for mountain. Si came from the Queen Sita. That is why we call it Pussy. And there was a story. But the story that I want to tell you now for the rest of the show is about two different Luang Prabang mountains, Pu Thao and Pu Nang. Long ago, there was a poor family. A father and 12 daughters were searching for food in the forest. They went deep and deep into the forest until they were very tired. They stopped at a clearing to have a rest. Kids, here's some bamboo, said the father. You all can go and fill up this bamboo with water. The river's over there. I will wait here. In fact, the father has planned to abandon his daughters because he was very poor. He couldn't take care of all of them. The 12 girls didn't know that the father had cut a little hole at the bottom of every piece of bamboo. They went to the river to try to fill up the bamboo, but they couldn't. They tried again and again all day until it got dark. They returned to the clearing. When they got there, it was empty. Ipoi, you say it! Shouted the girls like, Daddy, Daddy, where are you? When there was no answer, the girls started crying, and they cried until they fell asleep. The next morning, the youngest sister was woken up. She thought that was their father. In fact, it's not. It's a giant, a big little giant. What are you doing, little girls, here? Asked the giant. Well, we are waiting for our father, answered the girl. Your father, he's about this tall with a black short hair? Yes. How did you know that? Well, I saw him 5 minutes ago. He was under a mango tree. The mango tree? Was he okay? Yes, he was very happy with eating a big yellow mangoes, eating and dancing and singing. Do you remember what was he singing? Oh yes. ดีใจเด้บ่มีลูก12 คนเอกแล้ว Like happy, no more 12 daughters. When the girls heard about this, they started crying again. But the giant offered them to her house. It's a huge palace. So the 12 girls went with the giant to her palace and lived there for many years. But one day, the 12 girls were exploring the palace. They saw something. They didn't want to leave the palace. They were walking down to a dark corridor when they came to a room. Inside the room, they saw many bones of mice and elephants, even humans. But worse than this, on the shelf inside the jar, they saw a living, beating heart, which is the giant's heart. When they saw this, they started running away from the palace. Eventually, they arrived at the city of the king Balut Hassan. In the city, the king saw that there were beautiful ladies, so he married them, all of them. When the giant heard about this, she was very angry, and she transformed herself to be a beautiful woman. this John, she had planned to go to the king's palace with his queen. But before she left, she told her adopted daughter, her name Gang Hee, to take care of her heart. Gang Hee, I keep my heart inside the room down the corridor to make sure it is safe, and I will make sure those 12 girls suffer. The next morning, the John set up to the king's palace. When she got there, the king saw she was such a beautiful lady. So he married her too. Now, the 12 girls were moved to stay another part of the palace. They were very sad, but it's not suffer enough, thought the Giant Queen. One day, the Giant Queen pretended to be sick. The king went to get the Mardu, or astrologer, to find out what was wrong. Meanwhile, the Giant Queen transformed herself to be a Mardu and told the king this. Your Majesty, I am very sorry to tell you about your wife's sickness. The reason why she is sick is because of 12 sisters. What we need to do is to take out the eyes of them. The eyes must be sent to the giant's palace. Meanwhile, the girls must be sent away, never to return to a cave in the far, far north. Up to your mind. The Giant Queen knew that the 12 girls wouldn't live for long without their eyes, but she didn't know that her servants forgot to take all the eyes out. There was one eye of the youngest sister left. With this eye, she could see things like small insects inside the cave. They were able to be alive biting these insects until one day the youngest sister, Jantapatum, gave birth. After she gave birth, she saw something brightly colored in the cave. She took her baby, the baby boy, and went to see it. When she got closer, she saw it was a rooster, a baby rooster. Jantapatum was thinking how to cook the rooster when suddenly it spoke. I am special rooster, said the rooster. I'm from the heaven. I'm here to protect your son. Every day I have to fly out to collect food to feed your son to make him strong and growing fast. This is exactly what the rooster did. The boy grew up a strong man. And one day, he decided to go out to give it the rooster. They went to the local villages and entered many competitions like boat racing, rooster fight, buffalo fight, and so on. They won every competition they played. One day, the king heard about this little boy. He ordered him to his court. I have heard people talking about you, boy. They say you win many competitions. What is your name? I have no name, Majesty. Where are you from? I'm from far away, Your Majesty. How far? In the far north, Your Majesty. What's the name of the village? come from no village, Your Majesty. I come from a cave. When the king heard about this, he remembered this was his son. So the first thing the king did was to give the boy a name, Puttasen. The second thing asked about his mother and aunties. When the king asked about this, Puttasen lied and told the king that his mother and aunties were already dead. The reason why Puttasen said this is because if the Chan Queen knew that his mother and aunties were still alive, she would have them killed. Also, if she knew who he was, she would have him killed as well. This is exactly what the Chan Queen tried to do. One morning, she pretended to be sick again. And again, she transformed herself to be a Mordu and told the king this. Your Majesty, this time your wife is very sick. What we need to do this time is to go to the John's palace to get the medicines. The person who must go there must be Puttasen. Of course, Puttasen knew this is a trap. But he also knew that his mother eyes and auntie eyes were being kept in the John's palace, so he agreed. But before Puttasen set off, the Chan Queen wrote a letter. The letter says, when this man arrives, please kill him. She put it into the bamboo tube to give to Puttasen, to give to her daughter, Gang Hee, and then Puttasen set up into the forest on his journey. Nam Thang Wai. After a while, Puttasen stopped under a banyan tree to have a rest, and then he fell asleep. While he was sleeping, a hermit appeared in front of him. This hermit had a special powers. He knew that something bad would happen to this man, so he pulled the letter of the bamboo tube and read, "Oh! This is about killing this man." So he destroyed the letter and write a new one. This time the letter said, when this man arrives, please marry him. He's a very nice man. Put it back to Puttasen and then he disappeared. When Puttasen woke up, he continued his journey. And when he arrived at the Chinese palace, he knocked the door like and put his hand on the sword, ready to protect himself from the enemy. But when the door opened, he saw somebody like really beautiful. There was Gang Hee, Dr. Ba. So, when Puttasen saw Gang Hee, he fell in love with her and he gave her the letter. After Gang Hee read the letter, she fell in love with Puttasen too. So they married each other and lived together in the palace. One day, person was exploring the palace when he discovered the room with the giant's heart. But not only this, he also saw the eyes of his mother and aunties. When he saw these, all his memories came back. He knew that he couldn't continue staying in the palace anymore. So he had a plan to escape from the palace. He organized a big party and got everybody in the palace mao lao, like so drunk that they fell asleep. While they were sleeping, Protestant went to the room and collected all the eyes and the giant's heart, put into his bag, and then he left the palace. The next morning, Gang Hee woke up. She couldn't find Prudence in the palace. She asked her servants to look for him, but still couldn't see him. After a while, she suspected that he must have gone to his father's palace. So she got her army to follow him. They caught up with Prudence, who just finished crossing a river. Honey, honey, please wait for me, I'm here! Shouted Gang Hee. Prudence didn't turn around. Gang Hee called for the second time, but still he didn't turn around. This time he put his fingers into his ears. Gang Hee called for the third time. This time Prudence made many bamboo thorns and threw them across the river at Gang Hee. Gang Hee destroyed them and then made a big ball of fire and threw it across the river at Gang Hee again. Again Gang Hee destroyed it. Finally, he made the river rise up into a big wall of water. This time, Gang Hee couldn't destroy it. All she could do, just look through the water as Prudence walked away. Gang Hee was so sad and so heartbroken that she died right there by the riverbank. But before she died, she turned her face to the Tevada, or God, in the heaven and said, I love my husband so much. I gave him my heart, I gave him everything, but he abandoned me. I do not ask for any explanation why. All I ask is, may he die for love like I have done. So, when Prudence arrived at the cave, he put all the eyes back into his mother and aunties, and they were able to see again. After that, he set up to the king's palace, where the king and the giant queen were eating lunch. Oh, welcome back, my son. Join us for lunch. Prudence sat down, put his bag on the table. What is that in the bag? Asked the king. Is that the medicine? What I have here is not the medicine, said Prudence. Although it does have the power of life and death. While Prudence was saying this, he pulled the heart out of the bag. When the giant queen saw this, she was very angry. And she transformed herself to be a giant again, and she jumped at Prudence. But before she could get there, Puttasen pulled out his sword and stabbed the heart. Immediately, the giant died right there. So, Puttasen explained everything to his father, and the 12 girls were brought back to the palace and lived there happily. But something's trouble with Puttasen. You see, he still missed his wife. His love to her was so strong and had never stopped being strong. Even at the riverbank, the sound of her voice was so sweet to him that he had to use bamboo thorns and fire to silence it. He couldn't bear to hear her voice or turn around to see her face, because if he did, he knew that he couldn't continue helping his mother and aunties. But now he got his mother eyes and auntie eyes back, and they're all back to the palace. He couldn't ignore his love anymore. So, Puttasen decided to go back to see his wife again. When he arrived at the riverbank, he was so sad and so heartbroken to see Ganghi's dead body there, that he can't die. Let's stop his heart. So he died right there. Puttasen died for love as Ganghi had done. Goodbye. So, Puttasen died with his head at the feet of Ganghi. When the Tevada in the heavens saw this, they thought it wasn't right for a man to have his head at the feet of woman. That would be a bad example for next generation. Because wife would look like the head of the family. So they rearranged positions. This time, Ganghi's head was at the feet of Puttasen, and they have stayed like this ever since. So, when you go down to the river after the show, I mean not tonight, next day, you look across the Mekong River, you will see two mountains, look like two people lying on their backs. The mountain in front of you is called Punang, or Girl Mountain, and the smaller one on the left is called Putao, or Boy Mountain. These, according to traditions, are Puttasen and Ganghi.
Rồi, cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn trong các video kế tiếp.